a young woman drinking her own urine, eating insects off the floor, performing 600 knee bends every single day until her knees collapsed. This wasn't Hollywood fiction. This was the real story that inspired one of the most terrifying movies ever made. But what Hollywood didn't tell you about Anneliese Michel will shock you even more than what they did show. Because the truth behind Emily Rose reveals a tragedy so dark, it changed how an entire country handles possession cases forever. On September 21st, 1952, a baby girl was born in Bavaria, West Germany. Her parents named her Anneliese Michel, but everyone called her Anneliese. The Michel family lived by strict Catholic rules. They went to church every Sunday. They prayed before meals. They believed in the power of good and evil. But they had no idea that their faith would one day become their daughter's curse. Anneliese seemed like any normal teenager. She went to school, had friends, and dreamed of becoming a teacher. But when she turned 16, everything changed. One day, without warning, her body began convulsing violently. She couldn't speak. She couldn't move. Her parents rushed her to the hospital, terrified they were watching their daughter die. The doctors had an answer: temporal lobe epilepsy, a brain condition that causes seizures. They prescribed powerful medications and sent her home. Her parents felt relieved. Modern medicine had solved their problem. Or so they thought. But the seizures didn't stop. They got worse. Soon, doctors added another diagnosis: depression, then bipolar disorder. The medications piled up: anticonvulsants, antipsychotics. For 5 long years, Anneliese swallowed pill after pill, hoping to feel normal again. Instead, she felt like she was losing her mind. At age 20, something inside Anneliese snapped. She couldn't look at crucifixes anymore. The sight of holy water made her scream. She heard voices whispering terrible things. And then she saw them. Demons lurking in corners, grinning at her from shadows. Her family watched in horror as their once bright daughter became someone they didn't recognize. In 1973, the voices got louder. They told her to stop taking her medication. They commanded her to fast until her body withered away. Anneliese obeyed. She refused food for days at a time. She hurt herself with knives and broken glass. She drank her own urine like it was water. She crawled on the floor, eating insects and spiders. Most disturbing of all, she performed 500 to 600 knee bends every single day, praying desperately for the demons to leave her alone. Her parents begged doctors for help, but the medications weren't working anymore. In fact, they seemed to make everything worse. Desperate and terrified, the Michel family turned to the only place they had left: the Catholic Church. If you're finding this story as disturbing as we are, you're definitely in the right place for more dark religious mysteries that history tried to bury. The local priests listened to the Michel family story with growing concern. They had heard about possession cases before, but this seemed different, more intense, more dangerous. At first, they recommended more therapy, more medication. But as months passed and Anneliese's condition spiraled completely out of control, they began to consider another possibility. What if this wasn't mental illness at all? By September 1975, 2 priests had made a shocking decision. Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Renz approached Bishop Joseph Stangl with audio recordings of Anneliese's episodes. The sounds on those tapes were unlike anything human. Growling, barking, voices speaking in languages she had never learned. The bishop listened to the evidence and made a choice that would change everything. He approved a full exorcism. But this wasn't just any possession case. The priests believed that 6 different demons had taken control of Anneliese's body. And these weren't ordinary evil spirits. They claimed that Lucifer himself was inside her, along with Cain, the world's first murderer, Judas, who betrayed Jesus Christ, the Roman Emperor Nero, who killed countless Christians, Adolf Hitler, history's most evil dictator, and a disgraced priest named Fleischmann, who had lived centuries before. On September 24, 1975, the exorcism began. What happened next would be recorded for posterity, creating some of the most disturbing audio ever captured. The priests performed 67 separate exorcism sessions over the next 10 months, sometimes twice a week. Each session lasted up to 4 hours. They held Anneliese down while she screamed, thrashed, and spoke in voices that didn't sound human. The audio recordings reveal a young woman in absolute agony, begging for the pain to stop while deeper voices mocked her suffering. During these sessions, Anneliese displayed impossible strength. It took multiple people to hold her down. She spoke in Latin, even though she had never studied the language. She revealed personal secrets about the priests that she had no way of knowing. She described religious artifacts in detail despite being blindfolded. To the priests, this was proof that supernatural forces were at work. But while the exorcisms continued, Anneliese's physical body was dying. She refused to eat, claiming the demons wouldn't let her. She lost weight rapidly. Her knees became so damaged from constant kneeling that they eventually collapsed entirely. Her parents watched helplessly as their daughter wasted away before their eyes. What the priests didn't realize was that they were about to become part of one of the most controversial legal cases in German history. On July 1st, 1976, Anneliese Michel died at home. She weighed only 30 kilograms. Her body was ravaged by pneumonia, severe malnutrition, and dehydration. The autopsy confirmed what medical experts had suspected all along. She had starved to death while suffering from epilepsy-induced psychosis made worse by religious trauma. The German authorities were outraged. How could parents and priests watch a young woman slowly die and do nothing to save her? In 1978, Anneliese's parents and both priests were put on trial for negligent homicide. The case became a media sensation, splitting the country between those who believed in possession and those who saw it as dangerous religious extremism. During the trial, medical experts testified that Anneliese had never been possessed at all. Her symptoms matched perfectly with temporal lobe epilepsy, combined with severe mental illness. The hallucinations, the voices, the aversion to religious objects, even the unusual strength during episodes, all of these could be explained by her medical conditions. The doctors argued that proper treatment could have saved her life. But the defense presented those chilling audio recordings. They called witnesses who swore they had seen supernatural events. They argued that some things cannot be explained by science alone. In the end, The court found all 4 defendants guilty, but gave them suspended sentences and fines instead of prison time. The message was clear. Religious freedom has limits when human life is at stake. The Anneliese Michel case changed Germany forever. The Catholic Church implemented much stricter rules about exorcisms. Reported possession cases dropped dramatically. Medical professionals became more involved in evaluating alleged supernatural phenomena. It seemed like the country had learned from this tragedy. But Anneliese's story was far from over. Hollywood was about to turn this real-life horror into something even more terrifying. In 2005, The Exorcism of Emily Rose hit theaters worldwide. The movie combined courtroom drama with supernatural horror, asking audiences to decide for themselves whether Emily Rose was possessed or mentally ill. It became a massive box office success, earning over $144 million globally. But the film took significant creative liberties with the real story. The movie portrayed Emily Rose as an American college student, not a German woman in her 20s. It compressed the timeline from 10 months to just a few weeks. Most importantly, it suggested that maybe Emily really was possessed, leaving the question deliberately ambiguous. The real case was much more clear-cut from a medical perspective. Other films followed. Requiem in 2006 told a more accurate version of events. Anneliese, The Exorcist tapes, in 2011 used the actual audio recordings. True crime podcasts like Case File and Last Podcast on the Left have examined every detail of the case. Each retelling has introduced Anneliese's story to new generations who are fascinated by the intersection of faith, mental illness, and supernatural claims. Today, Anneliese's grave in Klingenberg has become an unofficial pilgrimage site. Some Catholics consider her a martyr who died fighting evil spirits. Others see her as a victim of religious fanaticism. Fresh flowers appear regularly on her headstone, left by visitors from around the world who have been touched by her story. But there's one aspect of this case that's more disturbing than anything Hollywood ever showed. The audio recordings from those 67 exorcism sessions still exist. German authorities keep them sealed, but portions have leaked over the years. What you hear on those tapes isn't the voice of demons. It's the sound of a young woman slowly dying, while the people who loved her most stood by and watched. You hear her begging for food, crying for help, pleading with her parents to take her to a hospital. And underneath it all, you hear the voices of adults who genuinely believed they were saving her soul while her body shut down from starvation. Medical experts today agree that Anneliese could have lived a normal life with proper treatment. Modern epilepsy medications are far more effective than what was available in the 1970s. Mental health care has improved dramatically. Support systems exist for families dealing with these conditions. Her death was completely preventable. The real horror of the Anneliese Michel case isn't supernatural at all. It's human. It's the story of how good intentions, strong faith, and medical ignorance can combine to create the ultimate tragedy. It's a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous demons are the ones we create in our own minds. The German government classified the complete audio recordings, But rumors persist that Vatican officials have copies hidden in their archives. Some claim these tapes contain evidence that would change everything we think we know about possession cases. Others believe they would only confirm what medical science has already told us. The truth is, we may never know for certain what really happened during those final months of Anneliese Michel's life. But one thing is absolutely clear. The girl behind Emily Rose deserved so much more than the ending she received. And somewhere in those sealed files lies the final chapter of a story that's far from